Welcome to The Just Life, where we expose problems of injustice, we engage with people that are making a difference, and we explore ways that we can all live more justly in everyday life. I'm Benjamin Watson, and I'm joined by Angela Stanton King. She's an author, a criminal justice reform advocate who founded Auntie, Angie's House, which is a maternity home supporting pregnant women impacted by incarceration. A survivor of prison birth and recipient of the presidential pardon, she champions life, redemption, and second chances. She's an HHS ambassador for women's health and a maternity health expert, and she's an advisor to RFK. Girl, when do you sleep? Welcome, Angela Stanton King.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for having me on the show.
Thank you for making time. I feel like you are everywhere doing all the things, mostly for other people, which is why I wanted to talk to you because, we've known each other for a little bit, but I look at your life and I say, this is a person who is living the just life and navigating a lot of different spheres, political, social, and just advocating for people that not only need a second chance, but I think deserve one.
Right. And babies.
Of course.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the babies because
Okay.
the on-ramp to you was the babies.
Right.
I Auntie Angie's House is something that's growing.
Yes, it is.
Started in the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
It's expanding. I recently was at a gala with you, and I was surprised. Honestly, I walked in, and I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting like one side of the aisle to kind of come out and support this issue. But what I noticed when I came to the event was that you have garnered a lot of respect, I think, because of your willingness to do the work on both sides of the aisle. There were people young and old. There were people who were Democrat, Republican. There were people who were hard MAGA Republican, and people who didn't want anything to do with that. I think that speaks to the fact that the issue of saving children, but also supporting mothers, is important to a lot of people.
Yeah, and it should never be political. We should always be people over party. And I've always said that at the end of the day, when we get through arguing, there's really nobody that I've ever met that doesn't want to help women and children in need.
Exactly. So tell me about your story. You shared it. You shared it publicly before.
I have written a book about it.
Yes. But tell me your story. Tell us your story because your story is really, a lot of times people have a personal on-ramp to the work that they do. And
Right.
sometimes people are on the outskirts and they just say, hey, this is an issue that's important, so I want to jump in there. But for you, this issue is personal, both from a prison reform side of it as well as the preborn child.
That's true because I just want to be clear. Like, I never chose politics, right?
Mm.
Politics chose me. And so I'll leave that there and we'll jump into my story. So I think that, they all ask us that question when we're little kids. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nobody I know raises their hand and say, I want to be a felon. I want to go to prison. So that means that there are things that happen along the way, right? There's this thing called a path to prison. So there are certain things that can put you on a path to prison. And I think my path to prison was the sexual abuse that I had endured at the age of 5 years old by a family member. And what was so unfortunate about it was back then, I guess, we were so stuck on kinship and sweeping things up under the rug and not exposing the family. So I was someone that was told, to forget about it, never speak about it again. And I think that it made me a warrior where I would just never shut up. Like, I was just sassy at the mouth. I wasn't going to let anybody else silence me. I wasn't going to be anybody else's victim.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to making me a warrior, it also caused a lot of problems because I think children, a lot of times they cry out and they react or they act out in ways that are emotional or ways that you would label as being bad or being disruptive, but they don't necessarily know how to convey the things that are bothering them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that's what put me on my path to prison. So if we fast forward, because I am a national best-selling author, I did write my story, Lies of a Real Housewife, and it made #1 on Amazon 3 times. It tells the whole story in great detail. But if we fast forward, I was pregnant with my 5th child in a Georgia State prison, and everyone was trying to convince me to abort her. I mean, the prison guards, the father, just everybody, because the situation was just so dark and gloomy.
Mm-hmm.
And I refused to abort her. And so I ended up carrying her while I was incarcerated. This is for a nonviolent crime. And I ended up giving birth to her chained to a bed with the sheriff watching. Now, for me, it's almost felt like death. Like this was the worst thing that could ever happen to a person, especially somebody like me who had, I guess, endured sexual abuse as a young child. Because in a lot of ways, it felt like I was being abused again. Because there's this man in here that I don't know. The doctors have asked him to leave out of the room. They're like, where's she going? Mm-hmm. She's delivering a baby. She can't get up and run. And she's chained to a bed.
Was that common practice at that point?
I've never been in a room with another woman during this experience, but chaining women to the bed during childbirth was common practice. Okay. If you were incarcerated. The sheriff staying in the room watching, like he was the daddy, waiting on the baby. I don't know.
That's power and control.
That's power and control. And it's also to make you feel hopeless, to make you feel like you're worthless. I mean, in a moment so private. So after I gave birth to my baby with the sheriff watching, she was taken from me 24 hours later. Fortunately for me, she was given to my mother. There were a lot of other women who didn't have family to get their children, so their children became wards of the state. And I was sent back to the prison where it was overcrowded, and I was given a mat to get up and down off of the floor. Now, that's a whole nother story. But I believe that this was the beginning of God changing my life and putting me on my path to my purpose. So I have my baby. My baby goes home with my mother. She's there for 6 months. I get a call from the chaplain to come in his office. My mother passed away from a massive heart attack. My daughter goes to my grandmother. She's with my grandmother for 6 months. My grandmother passes away of a heart attack. And then 6 months later, I'm released. So within this 2-year span, I've given birth to my 5th child. Yeah. I've lost my mother and my grandmother. My entire lifeline has been wiped out. I'm released from prison with a $25 check and a bus ticket, and I'm told to go start my life over.
Like, what am I supposed to do?
I have nowhere to go. Like, I'm literally coming home. I've got 4 children spread out with different family members waiting on me. I've got 2 garbage bags of clothes and 2 tombstones. I mean, nowhere to go. So we end up going from shelter to shelter. There were only 3 shelters in Atlanta at the time for women and children. 45 days you have to max out. During this time, there wasn't a ban to box. So I'm a convicted felon. I can't get Section 8. I can't get housing assistance. I'm a liability. Nobody wants to give a convicted felon who's also a single mother of 4 children a job. I just have absolutely no support. Yeah. And on my last day that I was getting ready to max out of the 3rd shelter, a woman came up to me and told me about a crisis center that I could go to get help. Yeah. And I remember that she had given me a token to catch the bus. And I made my way over to this crisis center. And I had already made up my mind before I even got there that I was going to take my life. Because I couldn't see like any way out. I'm so dark in this tunnel. Like I can't get a job. These children, you know, they hungry. They need things. I can't provide for them. I'm in the lowest of the lowest. And I remember going in there and speaking to this lady who was sitting behind the desk. And I'm like, look, if you don't help me today, I'm going to die. Like I was just being honest with her. Like I'm going to die. Yeah. And so it just so happened that the lady sitting behind the desk that day was Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. And not only did she help me, but she gave me a job and she helped me and my children get an apartment and she helped us get on our feet. So for 20 years, I had worked very closely with Alveda and the King family in regards to creating and establishing nonprofit organizations. And one of our main focus was community restoration, of course, in Atlanta, Georgia, the King Center. That's what the entire focus was. In the process of that, I'm building my life back. I'm rebuilding my life. I'm getting off parole. I'm getting out of trouble. I'm getting my children situated. And then President Trump decides that he's going to run for office. And I didn't know President Trump at all. I didn't know him as in a political realm. And so Alveda, the King family, they had already had a relationship with the Trump family. And one of Trump's initiatives was criminal justice reform.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think this was during a time that he was asking for people that had stories or wanted to, you know, push change to come in and sit down and talk to him. And I think Meek Mill and Jay-Z and everybody was dissing him. They was like, no, we're not going. And then I get a call from Alveda and she's like, will you go in and tell Trump your story? And I'm like, hell no, I ain't going in and telling Trump my story, right? I'm like, all I know is everything we seeing in the media. Like, I'm thinking this is the leader of the KKK.
Yeah. You ain't gonna have me on tape.
And you ain't gonna have me on tape. But then one of the other things that kind of moved me was we were having all of these social justice movements about families separated at the border.
Mm-hmm.
And because our community was so fixated on family separation at the border, I'm like, these people up here advocating for all of these families separated at the border. They done forgot about our families separated in the border.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you realize that if you are arrested, let's just say on driving on a suspended license and you got your kid in the car and you go to jail, like your kid is not going to jail with you. Like, they're going to separate you from your kid. And it just started to do something to me because I put myself back inside of the cage. And I remember when they took my baby out of my arms, and I'm an American-born citizen. And if you ask me, I'll say my crime was a crime of survival. I'm a young girl born into a situation of poverty, sexual abuse, very promiscuous, refused to have abortion, still wanted to keep my children.
Mm-hmm.
It was like every man for himself. We jumped off the porch, at a young age. You just get it how you live. It wasn't very many opportunities. So you could say my crime was a crime of survival. You could say some of the women that I was incarcerated with who had written bad checks just to put food on the table, right? You could say that those were crimes of survival.
So immediately you had a sense of empathy because you had been there and you saw this larger picture. You saw the narrative. Look, children at the border are important, yes. But I think what I'm hearing you saying is that so often the larger narratives shadow the things that are happening right here. And for you, this was personal.
This was personal. Alveda King is also one of the pro-life warriors.
Yeah.
People weren't understanding that abortion separates the mother and the baby forever, right?
Yeah.
Like I wanted our community to understand that we deserve to be fought for just as much as the people at the border.
Mm-hmm.
And since during that time, because it was all about politics, I decided to go in and fight for our people because I remembered exactly what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered every woman that I was in prison with that cried on the weekends because they did not get to see their children.
Wow.
And so I go in and I tell Trump my story. Now, I had to do a whole lot of praying. Thank God I am the child of a prophet. But I had to do a whole lot of praying, and I go in and I tell Trump my story, and I'm actually amazed at his reaction because I never thought in a million years that I would see a tear well up in this man's eye.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, I never thought in a million years that he would change the law and make it illegal for them to chain women to the bed because of my story, right? And then go on to give me a full and unconditional pardon. So here you have it. At the time, it had been an 18-year time span. So here you had it 18 years prior. I was chained to a bed giving birth to my baby. You couldn't tell me that in all of that darkness, that God was going to use that story to change the law of the land.
Yeah.
Not only that, that same baby that I had given birth to chained to a bed that just won the Harvard International Debate Championship.
Wow.
Got a full scholarship to every Ivy League school in the nation and is now in her 3rd year at MIT, be her 4th year in August. So that shows you that there is value in life regardless of the circumstance.
Yeah, there's value in life, and there's also redemption of story. And it can also come sometimes from the least likely suspects. I would imagine, and you fill me in, I would imagine that it was difficult for you to go and decide to go to meet with the president, especially President Trump. We don't even have to go into all the different ways people view him. Right. Some of it right, some of it incorrect. But you going as a formerly incarcerated Black woman to the White House in a contentious time, you were pursuing justice.
Yes.
And sometimes that can come from places that we don't expect it to come from.
Yes.
But you also, with that move, changed the lives of millions of other people by getting that law changed.
Well, by trusting God, because the word tells us that he turns the heart of the kings in whichever way that he wishes. Now, that may not be the exact scripture, but I know it's something like that.
Yeah, it is.
And so
he's in control.
He's in control. And my story just reminded me so much of the story of Joseph, because I was kind of like framed and set up and thrown in prison by my brothers and ended up finding favor with the king, right? And God says, not only am I going to give you, the family, He says, but I'm going to give you the name because I had also got married.
Yep.
Divorced now, but that'll come later. We could talk about that.
We can talk about that in
right.
But
we get in and we pass criminal justice reform.
First Step Act.
First Step Act. I immediately, I already had an organization, American King Foundation, where we were working on reducing recidivism. Mm-hmm. I continued to work with Trump's administration on criminal justice reform and got a partnership with the Department of Alaska to hire 4,000 of the returning citizens that will be coming home from the First Step Act. Because one thing that I knew was if they didn't have a job and if they didn't have somewhere to stay, they were going to end right back up in prison because that's something I'd experienced myself.
Exactly. We've talked about that. And a lot of people get excited for the cause. Mm-hmm. Criminal justice reform is a very, very catchy, and rightly so. It's a very, inclusive. People get excited about, what does that mean? But a lot of times people don't think about recidivism. They don't think about restoration. They don't think about the fact that, people get out. Do they have skills that they can use to make a living? You mentioned ban the box. When I was living in New Orleans, that was a big deal. You had formerly incarcerated people who could not vote. Right. So you effectively disenfranchise them after they've paid their debt to society and not allow them to have a voice. And that's not justice. Justice works in totality. It not only protects those people, but also provides a way for them to be reintegrated back into society and have human dignity. And so I see that work as restoring dignity to people the same way, when we talk about preborn children and the work you're doing with Auntie Angie's house.
Well, America is supposed to be the land of second chances. And we do have, if you want to say it, a convicted felon as president of the United States right now. So that just talks about, right, what we can do if we believe in ourselves, right? And I think that everybody does deserve a chance at redemption. And so I'm working with President Trump and I'm coming on the solution side now. One thing about me is I'm all good for the argument. We can argue why we need criminal justice reform. We can argue pro-choice, pro-life. We can do that. But once we've found out which direction we're going into, then I like to be on the solution side. So American King Foundation would be a solution to making sure that we're reducing recidivism. I continue to work with President Trump on criminal justice reform, and then COVID hit. Now, when COVID hit, my lights started going off because there was a lot of weird stuff going on. I'm like, what in the world? This is weird. Like, I don't think any of us our age had ever experienced anything like that before. And I'm watching how, COVID, I guess it originated, they said, in China, and it went all the way around the world, and then it got to America. And when it got to America, all of a sudden, it disproportionately impacted the Black community.
Why do you think that was?
That's why I got involved in this fight. I want to know why everything disproportionately impacts the Black community. It doesn't matter if it's COVID, if it's AIDS, if it's mass incarceration, if it's abortion, if it's syphilis. It doesn't matter what it is. Heart disease. What else is it? Diabetes, cancer. Everything, for some reason, disproportionately impacts the Black community.
America catches a cold, Black America catches the flu.
Well, and then I'm like, I'm walking up under Elvita, right, while I'm doing all of these other things, and I'm getting educated. I'm getting educated on Planned Parenthood, right? I'm getting educated on the Black genocide, right? So I'm also understanding that if there is a depopulation agenda, that Black people are the first to go. And they're going to get rid of us in any way that they can, okay? And so I'm working with Trump, and then COVID hits, and then here comes Kennedy. Right? So I'm working with RFK and America's Frontline Doctors. American King Foundation gets a call one day from Dr. Simone Gold, and she's like, hey, Angela, we've got some really vital, important information that we need to get to your community about the dangers of COVID, how they can avoid it, how they can protect themselves.
Meaning Black folks?
Yes.
Your community?
My community, yes. All of the airwaves had been canceled. They were canceling these doctors. Nobody was letting any type of information get out. You remember that time. And so she said, I want you to take me and these doctors into your community. We're going to fund you and set us up so that we can give them this information that they need to have.
Okay.
Now, this is the first time in my life a white person, not just a white person, but a white Jew,
Mhm.
contacts me and says, I want to fund your organization to teach your community.
Okay.
So instantly, right? I'm walking with these people and they're showing me who they are. You know, I'm hearing what some people are saying, but then I hear what people say and I watch what people do.
Mhm.
And so we end up doing a 5-city tour. And this is when I not only met Dr. Simone Gold, but I met Dr. Robert Malone, Dr. Peter McCullough, and I meet RFK. And then we are on this mandate just across the nation for defeat the mandates for medical freedom. Because this is the time they're forcing people to get vaccines.
Mhm.
People are saying, wait a minute, I don't want to take the vaccine. You guys just created it. You hadn't experimented long enough. We remember people were getting kicked out of school.
So what did she say about my initial question? Why did COVID impact Black America, so disproportionately? Did she have
Well,
any?
they say it's our environment. They say it's
Okay.
the low poverty areas that we live in. And of course, everything goes to that. It goes back to the grocery store. It goes back to the low medical care. It goes back to the low air quality. Everything goes back to our environment, the low income areas that we live in. And they're saying that's the reason. And I'm also asking RFK, because now I've gotten with him, and RFK, his entire life has fought against medical apartheid. He's an environmentalist. He's a lawyer.
Medical apartheid.
Right.
That's something I've studied a bit of. You mentioned syphilis, and we can think of so many different instances where medicine has been used, has been weaponized, specifically against Black Americans. And many people don't realize this, but we can go no further than the Tuskegee experiment, where Black men were given syphilis. They weren't treated. They were allowed to let the disease kill them or dismember them. And people were observing that instead of interfering and providing solutions for that and helping these people. So there is already a not necessarily a fear, but a wariness when it comes to medicine for many Black people. I think my question is, how does that play into the maternal mortality rate in Black America? I remember we were living in New Orleans and my wife was going to give birth at Toro Hospital, and a USA Today article came out talking about that hospital and the maternal mortality rate in those areas. To me, that is an issue not just of justice at the moment, but you mentioned all of the contributing factors that play into that. What has been, because you talk about maternal health as well.
Again, medical apartheid. Like it plays right into it. Like I use my common sense and then I hear what they're saying, right? My common sense tells me that my grandmother gave birth to 10 children, okay? In a shed, not in the hospital, all right? All of those children are healthy. All of those children live. My father, it was 9 of them, right? In one generation, we've gone from Black women birthing 10 and 12 children to now they're saying that Black women are dying from giving birth to 1, right? But we just watched Octomom pop out 8 babies at one time, coochie still intact and everything, no complications with the babies, right? But you're telling me that to me, that doesn't make sense, right?
So you're saying that that's not true, or you saying it doesn't?
I'm saying it doesn't make sense. Why is this happening? That's why I'm working very closely with RFK so we can get to the bottom of it. Because to me, it's almost as if you're telling me that all the Black dogs are going to die if they give birth, or all the Black horses, or all the Black cows, or all the Black bears. And again, they're saying it goes back to the environment, poor medical care. I've met with a bunch of doctors. They're telling me that Medicaid pays at one specific rate. It's the lowest rate. The private sector pays higher. All of your good doctors are going to the private sector, where the doctors that are receiving Medicaid that are mostly these low income areas, they're taking it. It's the lowest that you can get. What happens when you pay minimum cost? You get minimum quality.
Well, what about things like medical care deserts, though? I mean, even throughout maternal care deserts specifically, and it's getting increasingly worse, where women are having to drive further and further to get care. I mean, you look across the South, specifically states like Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, even South Carolina. That's a huge issue where women just can't access care because
I think the care may be the contributing factor. I think that it's the care that we're receiving. A lot of these women, when it comes to this maternal health crisis, especially Black women, they're passing away because of C-sections. They're hemorrhaging, they're bleeding out. Like it's a C-section is not really the natural way to give birth. They aren't cutting horses and gorillas in half for them to deliver their babies. Anytime a doctor performs a C-section, that's an extra $30,000, right? That's added on to that bill. So what I like to do is see women get back to the natural birthing methods, right? Get back to naturally breastfeeding our babies as well. We are the only species that's running around here giving our babies milk that don't come from our bodies. Every other species is breastfeeding.
You bring up so many good points. It reminds me of a study that I read not too long ago of medical students. And they did a peer-reviewed study, and they asked the medical students about which people or types of people experience pain. And repeatedly, these are medical students that will become doctors someday and end up treating people like you and me. Repeatedly, for the medical students, they thought that Black people did not experience pain at the same rate. They thought that we were just able to endure things. And what that means is that when you encounter someone who is a Black woman that is trying to express the pain that she's feeling or the discomfort because of, her pregnancy or different issues with that, many times it's not taken seriously.
That's true. They're not listening.
How does that play
They're
out?
not valued. And I hear Black women say all the time, hear us, listen to us. They're not listening to us. And I think, again, we need to get in positions where we're taking back control over our own health, right? They got all of these women's rights movements, the ones that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what about the woman's right to live? Yeah. What about the woman's right to be born? You have to be born in order to become a woman, right? Exactly. Right. It's a flawed argument. And so I think that what happens is we have low quality care, or it could possibly be intentional. Because what we're also seeing now is we're seeing an agenda being pushed where they're saying, because there's a Black maternal health crisis, that women need access to abortion.
Yeah.
So the mother is going to die having the baby, right? And then you're going to kill the baby during the abortion process. So once you kill the mother and once you kill the baby, and then once you transition the little Black boy before he become a Black man, because we could take Kimora Lee Simmons, for example. Kimora Lee Simmons got a baby by a Black man, a white man, an Asian man, and a Mexican man, allegedly, right? But we know that all these babies, all beautiful, are different races. The woman does not determine the race. So we are really, really serious when we say Black Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter. Like, we have to protect Black men, Black boys, right? Because he's a boy before he comes a man. You're only going to get Black life from a Black male.
Yeah.
So how are we supporting agendas, abortion, sexually transitioning our boys into girls, right? The idea of a maternal health crisis, we move in fear. We're afraid, but we don't apply our common sense. Yeah. Because a baby, you could be on your way to the hospital, had a baby, and the baby just pop out. Like, there are stories of babies being born in car. Everything on this earth gives birth. It's the most natural thing to man. Every person has been born. Women were created to give birth. So now we have an atmosphere, right, where Black women believe that it is safer to abort their children than to give birth to their children. And we are not recognizing the Black genocide. And Auntie Angie's house is a creation of all of those things that led up to this point.
Okay.
The incarceration, the medical apartheid, all of those things. King, Trump, Kennedy, all played a role into where I am right now today in the fight that I have.
So I'm sure you get this all the time. The pro-life, stance is usually casted as, right-wing, conservative, Republican. The take care of women and provide services for women is usually cast into the Democratic, left-wing, more progressive, care about people after they're born as opposed to care about people before they're born. How do you walk that line? Is there a line? And how do you navigate that? Because
it's a line.
It's taking you being willing to step into some right-wing circles, some left-wing circles, but understanding that, look, I'm trying to, from womb to tomb, serve people. And whatever side of the political aisle you sit on, I'm just trying to provide opportunities for people.
I think out of all of the nonprofit work that I've done, This one has been the most challenging for me.
Okay.
And I'll say that because although Republicans, the majority of Republicans are pro-life, they aren't pro-black, right? At Auntie Angie's house, we'll help anybody, but I'm not afraid to specifically target my community.
Yeah.
If Planned Parenthood can target us for abortion, then I can target us for life, right? So I'm not afraid to specifically say, I want to eradicate the Black maternal health crisis. I want to save Black babies. Now, when it comes to that pro-life movement, which has been, unfortunately for us, mostly white, right? And it's been hard for me. And that's why I stopped protesting. I would go to the March for Life events, Ben, and you've been there and I've been there too. And I promise you, we are in a sea of white people. It may be 5 of us, but it's 50,000 of them. And when I'm standing on this side, and we're the oddballs in the bunch because we the only little specks of pepper in a whole sea of salt, right? And then I look on the other side, and when I look on the other side, I see all the pepper. Okay, and all the pepper wants to terminate. They want rights to terminate. And me being a Black woman on this side, I had people asking me like, what's wrong with your community? They don't want to save their babies.
So it's either what's wrong with your community, or it's here are the stats about why Black abortion matters. Here are the stats that Black women have disproportionately more abortions. This is from white pro-lifers, some of them.
Right.
So they talk about all these statistics, but then when it comes to, as you mentioned, okay, you're saying that this is the issue, that the problem of abortion is really focused on Black America, Black children, image bearers of their creator. But then when you say, I want to do something for Black women and Black children specifically, then it becomes a problem. Why is that?
I don't know why that is. And I don't have time to figure it out. Okay. But those that have been with me and that are standing with me, like some of those that you saw at that gala, those are the ones that I'm going to continue to do this work with, because I'm going to flip it over for you, right? Because although I may have a conservative background, right? Although independent now, I come from strictly Democrat. My community, my family, everything is Democrat. So I'm over here and the work that I'm doing is for this community. But these people don't want to help either, because they say I'm anti-women or I'm taking away a woman's right. I want to save, y'all just went on this whole rampage, burned down the whole country saying Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter, then Black life starts in the womb. And that's another thing for me. Like, you can't.
Is there room for both? Is there room for, and not to, do we have to discredit Black Lives Matter or to use that slogan as a juxtaposition against preborn children? Or can we say, yes, 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 Black Lives Matter. Yes, go march. Yes, talk about systemic injustice, but also this matters as well, instead of pitting them against each other?
I think that it's the same thing, because Black life is Black life. Like, if Black lives matter, then it matters from the womb all the way to the tomb. We don't separate the fight. If Black lives matter, it matters from how did you get here? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's stand on that. And so that's one of the reasons why I got so amped about this movement. And I'm like, y'all saying, look, okay, this is what we doing. Then this is what we doing. And this is what I'm bringing to the fight. So while you all are over there, I'm over here, right? Same fight. We still trying to get to the same place, right? Same fight. We all on the same team. But a perfect team, you play football. Everybody can't be the wide receiver. We on the same team, but you need the wide receiver. You need your quarterback. You need your deep,
But there's also an appreciation. Team. You're right. I love that analogy. And we're all on the same team. But on those teams, there was always an appreciation for what everybody else did. And what happens too often, like, we're on the same team saying that life matters. My role might be to advocate for pregnant women. Your role might be to advocate for prison reform and for just sentencing and to take out bias when it comes to policing. That might be your role. Your role might be protecting the preborn child. I want to enact laws and policy to protect preborn children, but I have a respect for all of them because we are on the same team. Now it seems that if you're advocating for good wages, for higher income, for housing equality, for those sorts of things, you have to be against preborn children's lives being taken care of. And that shouldn't be. And what I see from you is you're trying to do all that. Would you say that that is a more just way to live?
It's definitely a more just way to live, because we're putting people over party. Like, one of the things that I learned working with RFK and being a senior advisor to him over his campaign,
Mhm.
because I was the only pro-lifer there. And his campaign was comprised of you've got Democrats, you got Republicans, you got libertarians. Like, we were all thrown in there together. We really
Wow.
represented the unity party. And so we were able to be solution-based. And that's where we need to be. It always needs to be people over party. So I've gotten more friction, right,
Mhm.
for the work that I do from our community, okay?
Mhm.
And I think it's because they didn't really fully understand. So the gift that God has given me is to be that bridge, right? Because they hear what they're saying, but then they see their sister and they see the work that I do.
Mhm.
Because they say all the time, y'all don't want us, you against abortion, y'all want us to have these babies, but y'all don't never help us after we have the baby.
Yeah.
Well, I do. Right? So you can't bring that argument to me. So it kind of changes the
Mm.
direction that we go in. And I think that one of the biggest things for me is me trying to convince not only our community, but also their community that there is value in Black life, right? Because if we're on this side, back to my point, saying that Black lives matter,
Yeah.
then we can't be first in line at the abortion clinic to terminate the Black lives that we create.
Do you think people, whether they are Black, white, indifferent, do you think America values Black life?
No, we don't even value Black life.
I'm saying
sitting up here
we're
trying
all in America. When I say America, I don't necessarily mean Black America, white America. I'm just saying America. What have we learned about Black life?
We learned that Black people were worthless slaves, that they were beat, that they weren't even considered to be human. That's what we've been taught every Black History Month. That's what I was taught when I came up to
Yeah.
school. Yeah, you might have told me about somebody nice like Martin Luther King, but I know he got his ass beat and they murdered him.
Yeah.
Because you might have taught me about Malcolm X, but they murdered him too. Like, all of our heroes were murdered. Like, it's always been injustice. This is what we have taught, right? Our children. Also, we have taught our young women that there's freedom and liberation in having a choice to terminate Black life. So we got a lot of work to do.
Do you think that's reactionary
I
to
think
the
that
reality?
I think it's
not to condone it, because we all have responsibility. We've got personal agency, but there's also this idea that, at least when I think about it, all the things you said are true about how America views Black life. And it seems that sometimes when it's viewed that way, people turn into protection mode.
Mhm.
Do you think there's a piece of that?
I know it is, because in our community, adoption has never been popular. Abortion always have, right? So in our community, for some reason, we feel as though abortion is better than adoption, right? Like, I remember when I got pregnant at the age of 14, and I remember my mother sending me to a pregnancy home. My father wanted me to have an abortion. And I remember my mother sending me to a pregnancy home, which is another reason why I started Auntie Angie's house. There were none in the Black community. We had to go all the way out. And all of the girls there were told to, like, keep their babies and put their babies up for adoption. But I don't remember those conversations, right, being held within the Black community. And right now, it's like such a movement for abortion or having a choice. And the argument that they're using is that, what if this child is abused? The adoption system is horrible. DFACS is horrible. It's better to have an abortion. We're actually using death as the better out for our children. And I don't think that that's right.
Wow. Tell me a little bit more about, like, more granular about the work of Auntie Angie's house. Like, what exactly, and can you give an example of a woman and, her situation and how?
Yeah, we Kalina Mott, she actually is one of our guardians of life. We got her when she was 19 years old. She was 9 months pregnant. Her mother had died the year prior. We got a call from a hospital. She had been shot in the back while she was 9 months pregnant.
Wow.
And didn't have anywhere to go. Her and the baby were homeless, shot by the baby's father.
Wow.
We got her and the baby directly from the hospital. We kept them. We nurtured them back to health. We got them on track. We got her in training, and she's on her way to be a police officer now. Her and the baby had their own place. And this is less than a year ago. The baby just turned 1, I want to say, in February of this year. So God is moving fast. That's one example. We got another one, Marion Swift, and her baby Serenity. We got her and kept her for about 9 months. She's getting ready to be a firefighter. She's got her own place. Hershey, Manifield, a lot of our mothers were there at the gala because for me, it's important for people to see that this works.
Yeah.
And it is a solution, right? And sometimes all a mother needs is a little bit of help. Like I haven't had one situation where a mother has come in and been totally dependent and is still dependent and did not get right. So what we do at Auntie Angie's house is we're just that bridge for them to have a safe place to carry the baby, a safe place to birth the baby, a safe place to bond with the baby. That usually takes at least 2 years.
Okay.
During that process, they're able to partner with other community organizations, get their education, to get their training, to start working, to get jobs, whatever it is that they need to do to better themselves, and we begin to transition them out. We put them on a plan where they're able to work with case managers. Okay. They're able to save their money. They're able to do everything that they could do if they just had a little bit of support. And when I talk to people, like in America, we have 2,800 life resource centers across the nation. But what we don't have is housing.
Yes.
So I didn't want to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
I remember having my baby and coming home and having nowhere to go. But I was a mother that loved her children. Yeah, I made mistakes, but I didn't want to give my children up. It didn't mean that I didn't love them. You know, maybe I just need somewhere to stay for a little bit till I figure it out.
You need something reliable.
So we decided to create housing and just partner with other communities and other organizations to provide everything else. And the vision that God gave me was, he kept showing me the word choice. And he said, choosing to keep the baby is also a choice.
Yeah.
And he said, if Planned Parenthood is the only place that they have to go, do they really have a choice? And then I kind of just start seeing, like, if we go eat, and let's just say we're going to go grab a bite somewhere real quick. Usually if McDonald's is here, then Burger King is here. Or if Popeyes is here, then KFC is here.
Yeah.
But in our communities, you'll see Planned Parenthood here. There's no Auntie Angie across the street. There's no life resource across the street. Planned Parenthood that isn't able to say, hey, if you want to keep the baby, go across the street. They'll help you.
Yeah.
That's a choice. And so I said, I want an Auntie Angie's house everywhere that there is a Planned Parenthood in our community. And at first we started out with a 9-bedroom, 9-bath that was right across the street from Senator Warnock's church. And it was burned down to the ground mysteriously. I still don't know what happened. But God said to me in a dream, he said, hey, baby girl, he said, you burned down, but you're not burned out. He said, get up and keep going. And so I said, okay, I'm going to see what we can do. So I started a GoFundMe. We raised $18,000 on the GoFundMe. And out of the funds that we raised, we were able to secure a single family 2-bedroom home. We kept that home for a year. We were able to service 17 women in that 1 year, in that 1 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. And then God blessed us with a 4-unit complex down in Albany, Georgia.
Yep.
We're there. We're still up and we're operating. We're expanding. We're getting ready to open another location here in Atlanta. We're on our way to Chicago. And God is just making awesome moves. And it's almost unbelievable when you think about my story, when you think about somebody like me that was born into so much poverty and dysfunction, to end up having the favor of not only the King family, but the Trump family and the Kennedy family. I'm talking about like on speed dial.
Yeah.
And everything that I fight for, because I cause problems everywhere I go. You probably heard that. Yeah.
Indeed.
Because I'm really about us. Like I could be with the Republicans. I could be with independents. I could be with Democrats. My stance don't change. Like I need to help women and children. And that's what I'm here for.
So what is required of us outside of you, when you look at churches, when you look at individuals, even when you look at it from a policy standpoint, like what is required of us to do justice, especially on the issues, really is social determinants of health. It's things like you mentioned housing, it's food insecurity, it's access to transportation, it's all these sorts of it's healthcare, it's all those sorts of things. Those are determinants of health and determinants of maternal health, especially. What does justice require us to do?
Get up off our ass and make something happen. Like I'm so tired of these excuses. Like, look at what I've done with my life, right? Like, and there are enough of us that have made it. We got enough rappers. We got enough entertainers. We got enough athletes. We got enough directors. We got enough lawyers. We got enough authors. We got money, right? Like, stop the bullshit. Everybody that comes on a microphone speaking from their mansion in the hill telling us that we're suppressed and, oh, go vote for the people that show up to twerk at Kamala Harris campaign and get paid $2 million of grandma's them donations because they done donate. Like, we have money. Make a difference. Stop. And I never chose politics, right? Yeah. Politics chose me. I've always been about my community, but once I got thrown into politics, I learned how to make politics, my political connects, work for what I'm trying to do in my community, right? But we got enough power to do what we need to do for us without them. I'm one person. If I can start an Auntie Angie's house to help save Black women and Black babies, somebody else can too. King Randall is one person. If that boy at 21 can start a school to save little Black boys from juvenile, we need to get up off of our behind and take our power back. Right? I'm tired of arguing. I can't argue all day in politics no more. Yeah. I can't. You either with me or you against me or you ain't.
So that's what's required of us. I love that. What would you say to folks who aren't Black? Do they have a role in doing justice in this work?
Of course they do, if they want, right? Because I don't beg anybody to take part in this movement. Like, we got all of this stuff going on in the news right now because people mad because Trump bought some white South Africans over or whatever, right? Like, the dude is white.
Like, what do you expect?
Like, if I can fight for my people, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, and if I have a lot of white friends that support me because they know the truth. They know about the Black genocide. They know why Planned Parenthood was created. They know that it's racist. They get accused of racism for helping me save my babies. And they get beat up a lot, right? But whoever's going to walk with me on this walk, they're going to walk. I'm just fulfilling my assignment.
So what you're saying, it might cost them something.
Of course. Of course. And it's going to cost them something on both sides because they'll leave that side, right, to come over here and help me. And then some people over here are going to have something to say. And then they're going to say, well, you should have just stayed over there. You shouldn't have been over there with them anyway. But it's just all about the light work. Like, that's what I want to get away from. I don't, of course, I have to put an emphasis on what's happening in Black culture because I am Black and there's a Black maternal health crisis. I don't know why. More Black babies are being aborted than anybody else. But for me, it's not about racism when it comes to who can help us in this fight. Okay. Like, I'm not saying you can't help me because you white. And I'm not saying that I won't help you because you white. I got white God babies. I got Indian God babies. Whatever God send me, I'll take. But I think it's at some point we need to let humanity, you know what I'm saying, check back in with humanity and get away from the politics.
What else needs to be done for, prison reform? For what else needs to be done to help women like you who came out of prison and are trying to reestablish themselves?
Well, opportunity.
And come back to life.
Because not just me, but men as well. Like, we need to restore the family unit. Okay. We need to restore the family unit. Black men coming home from prison, they need to be put back into the families. Like, a woman is not able to nurture or raise her children the way that she should be if she's working a 40-hour job. Like, the structure was in place for a reason. We've gotten so far away from the original design, the origin, right? That everything is falling apart. Now, reality tells me that we too far gone, okay? But I'm just here to get the ones that I can. Yeah. I'm not going to save every baby for abortion, but I'm on baby 94.
Somebody else said, sometimes a problem seems so big. In this case, it's maternal health, it's prison, it's racism.
Gender ideology for our children.
Sometimes a problem seems so big to solve. And for a lot of people, that paralyzes them. What do you say to the person that feels paralyzed? They want to engage in justice. They want to live justly in their life, but they just feel like, man, the things that I care about, I can't solve them myself. I don't know where to start.
You get the ones that you can. That's the biggest flaw, going in thinking that you're going to save everybody, right? It's impossible. But some people don't want to be saved, right? Yeah. But there are going to be each one of us have to do our part. There got to be a Benjamin Watson. There got to be an Auntie Angie. There got to be this person here, this person. If you got 100 and I got 100 and we got 100 more that got 100, then we eventually might get there. But don't allow it to make you stagnant. Don't allow it to make you give up. Just go get the ones that you can.
Yeah. This podcast is called The Just Life. And so as we close, I always like to ask, what does a just life mean to you? So the just life means what?
Being alive, the right to life. If you aren't alive, you aren't anything. Everyone who argues against abortion has never been aborted. Being alive, God is life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your time.